Hello and welcome to a deck review of Midnight Void. This is the top 4 deck from the most recent EU Nationals. This is a deck that I put a lot of hard work into and I'm very glad it was able to pay off. And EU Nationals was a lot of fun. Big shout out to everyone I played throughout that weekend. And I thought, seeing as how we've been making deck profiles, might as well make one for the top 4 finishing Midnight. So, starting character is Midnight, 600 with 28 health, all Chaos Void. Chaos is what Midnight is usually made on, but Void has been finding a lot more legs recently, especially with 100% repeated smash. Midnight has 2 enhances on face. Commit, discard any number of cards from your hand and draw 1 card for each card discarded. So you get essentially a free mulligan during any turn, which is very good. Second enhance is commit 1 foundation. This attack gains +1 or -1 speed for each of its keywords. Playable while committed. The playable while committed is huge because it means that you can aggressively commit your character to redraw risky or not as good hands as you like and not have to worry about losing speed. And you can also continue to take speed away from your opponent even after it's been committed through things like Blood Curdle or 5% full cowling. Midnight is currently the world champion character through Kevin Bromberg playing them on Chaos. And Garrett Brett and I believe Brandon Jones, I'd have to double check that one, got 2 top 8 in the RLEs with Void Midnight. I've got another deck list up on the channel of my Void Midnight, which got 17th. And following on from that, I made some changes, and it seems to have paid off. I made the deck more defensive, but which I'll go into now. So starting off with actions, 3 barrier shields. This is the only actions I run. I know other people are running Plus Ultra in the main board, Blood Curl in the main board, Engine Trouble. Barrier Shield to me is all I needed action wise, and the amount of times I'd open my hand and I'd have 2 attacks, 2 foundations, 2 actions when I'm only running 3. As a 6-hander, I wanted to reduce the likeliness of me opening up a hand that's all orange and blue with only 1 grey card. I know that's always a risk anyway, but my head was like, 3 Barrier Shields should be enough for what I'm looking to do. Barrier Shield is a great action, probably one of the best ones in Symbol, and is also part of why I got locked into Void. It's an Evil File Void card, 2 cost, 5 check, 2 high block, although you very rarely block with Barrier Shield. It does not count towards progressive as it's static. Enhance, remove, discard this, reduce this attack speed to 0. The next card you play gains Breaker 2. So the next card you play, regardless of anything else, gains Breaker 2. So if you play Barrier Shield into Barrier Shield, the second Barrier Shield absorbs the Breaker from the first Barrier Shield. This is something a few people have had issues with, and even I messed up in the August RLE, thinking that it would move over. Nope, it's the next card. And second enhance, your rival cannot add cards to the hand during this attack from their non-character abilities. So part of the reason I was in this, I knew Jiro would make some kind of appearance during August RLE and during Nationals, and Philip did not disappoint. Philip brought in, and when Philip had his top 8 game against Luke, I was hoping Philip would win because Barrier Shield is such a good counter to double jab pummel. So under the guise to do as much as you can, they play double jab pummel. They use the combo enhance. You block, which is the instigate in action. They then draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. They're not allowed to add cards into their hand. So they draw nothing and discard 2 cards, which to me makes Barrier Shield worth putting in decks with these symbols. Just because my friend who was playing Shigaraki 1 was on the fence about putting them in. I told him, I essentially forced him to put 2 in, and after Nationals he was like, yeah, Barrier Shield was such a good call. It really helped me out. It is one of the most powerful cards in set 5, and I think anyone who's on these symbols, apart from super aggro like Rapper, should be running some form of barrier shield. I think even Tokiami's on Evil and Fire are still running barrier shields because of how good that defensive action is. We're on 20 attacks. So we're running 4 Expert Flurries. This is to make up for a gap I had in August for Momentum Hate. Yes, the plus 2 damage to my X-Attack is brilliant and it can get some damage in. But the main thing it's in there to do is for me to selectively get rid of momentum. I play this, I get rid of your Vast Hybrid Khmer Kraken, I get rid of your Jolt, I get rid of your Zero Gravity Lift, and your next turns are going to get a bit harder, which is how it played out against Amajiki. Being able to selectively get rid of momentum, yes, it's not like Borrowed Goods where I then get a momentum, but a 4 high 4 which might be able to absorb some of the blocks that Repeated Smash is trying to get through is really cool. It's 4 high 4, 4 cost 3, it's 2 high block, so essentially this is replacing Rewind Throttle, because although Rewind Throttle is very good at being a 5-3 to get the damage in, it just wasn't enough. The niche moments where I had things like Prone to Dry Eyes and I was able to get another one draw another card to keep going, they were so niche and they were so irrelevant that I felt Momentum Hate and going into Mirio, going into Overhaul is so good. And one of the biggest things I struggled with was Eri. So being able to turn Eri off early in a turn seems really good. Plummeting Punch is deadlock threat for days and is a great way of being able to essentially pseudo Mirio an attack. It's a 4 cost 3 check, 1 low block in the maximum overhaul meta is so good to have a +1 low block. 3 high for 4. Don't trust that 3 high though. So, you flip 1 foundation, this attack gets +2 speed and becomes a low. So it's a 5 low for 4, just for flipping a foundation. No commit, flip, it's more permanent but it does some damage. But the key thing here, and one of the things that saved me in many games, is the deadlock enhance. You lose 1 life. Easy. You then flip 1 rival foundation, commit 1 rival foundation, and destroy 1 rival foundation. So if they go to 11, they will be knocked back out of deadlock by you. And they'll also lose defensive pieces for that turn. Or if you're not going to be going in much, you can get rid of offensive pieces. I think during one game in my top 4 game against Luke, I just hit 3 cooperation offers. In other games, I've gone after Manly Passionate Guy, Learning the Standards, Decoy. One I did Prentile Tail because I wanted to keep my momentum. It's a great utility card, and because it's all targeted, your rival doesn't get to choose. It is very powerful. It's a beautiful piece of deadlock hate. Then we have the one of Hardened Jab. So the one of Hardened Jab is purely is in there for the promo. I wanted to get the promo. I wanted to play the promo. I'm on the symbols. But actually, it really did help out. Going up against Learn Standards, we've got a handful of red. I could play Jab, pick up a foundation, and go, cool, now I'm ready for Learn Standards. It's a free mid for 5 with only 1 keyword, but it lets you pick up a face down. So if I've got a face down and I go Hardened Jab on a 4, I check the 4, I go, cool, commit 1 face down. It's a 4-5 now, pick it up. Build another one down. It's cost me no resources to give this +1 speed. And it's made my opponent then have to reconsider how they're going to block this, if they want to block it at all. It's only 5 damage. The 4 diffs here are such nice little pokes. And Hardened Jab being a mid, when I've got Rejuvenating Smash as my other mids, may not want to be the best, or may not want to be blocked. Moving on to Rejuvenating Smash. 5 cost 3 check, 1 mid block, 4 mid for 6, EX2. Fury Punch response. After you've played this card, if it's the second card you've played this turn, gain 2 health, draw 2 cards. That is the ability most people are playing for. Enhance. If you discard a card during this enhanced step, add the top card of your deck to your momentum. So Midnight on face can immediately fulfill that requirement, especially after drawing 2. So you play a card, you draw 2, you back up to hand size. you commit Midnight, and you're getting a free momentum and a mulligan. It's really good. The main thing about this card is the defensive ability of it. My whole goal with this was to play cards that was very good on offense, but also had defensive value. I wanted to tighten up my defense. After I made the mistake of saying that my deck was more defensive than Garrett Brett's, I got in a little bit of hot water with Mr. Brett, and then I looked at his list properly and realised Midnight's defense can go very hard. So part of what I did was sacrifice damage buffs and all these things that I've been running to try and kill quickly and going, no, I need to go long game. So Rejuvenating Smash was, I think, increased from a 3 to a 4 because it makes my defense longer. And while I'm sculpting to get that perfect kill turn, being able to just block and draw 2 more seems really good. The EX at 3 is nothing to sniff at, but it is such a good offensive and defensive card. For repeated $100 smashes, it's a 5 for 3 that does silly things. It's a low block, which is the most expensive block I ever used, but to stop a Death Arms Wallop coming at me at 19, to stop a Maximum Overhaul coming at me for 11, yeah, it does the job. EX3, powerful 3, punch, ranged, didn't need ranged. Giving this ranged was silly. Enhanced Ready 1 Foundation for every punch in your card pool that has not been readied already. That is decent. Yeah, no, that's the most powerful ability in the game that I've seen in a while. Just being able to go, cool, I checked a 5, so I commit 2 and I get to ready 3. Means that you're in a net sum of -1. If you check poorly, it's like, cool, I checked a 3, I commit 4, I ready 3, I still checked really well. The second enhance of if this attack's damage is 10 or greater, checks cannot be modified for the rest of the turn. So that includes characters. So if you get Shigaraki 3 and you just launch this as your first attack and go, yep, cool, let's pump this up to 11 and just counteract Shigaraki 3 this entire time. Masterminding, Twisting Surroundings, Breaker, it does not care about any of them. It just turns off all of your opponent's tricks for a single turn and says, you will die this turn if I can get through it. And it's just so good. So, that ability in Midnight is not that often used. It's generally coming in as like 6 to 8 damage. But when you can get it off, it's very powerful. Then we've got the Hardened Uppercut. Hardened Uppercut coming in as a 3 low for 5. 5 cost 3 check, 0 high block with EX2 Fury Punch. Response. After you block with this card, the next your opponent's next attack gets -2 speed. That is so good. To just be able, with Midnight already reducing speed, if you can block and go, next one gets -2 speed, and then you can reduce it even further, it makes it so that your block utility is up. Stronger resources, gotta love it. And also then, for a nice little play on Deadlock, destroy 2 face down foundations, this attack gets +4 damage. With the 3 keywords, and I will go over the attacks keywords after I've gone through all the main attacks, this is essentially a 6/9 low. And when most people are holding a majority of highs, especially when they look at the list and see most of my kill cards are high, this low attack can come in and just scoop some games very quickly. The last attack is Hand Chop. Hand Chop has this Breaker 1 Punch. It is a 5 cost 3 check, 4 low for 5, +2 mid block, which should just generally read unblockable unless your opponent is in a very bad position. Because the second enhance of this card is, if it is blocked, your rival discards a card. It is a hand tax. If they block this, if they partial block it, then they have to discard a card. Also have Destroy 1 Foundation, build the top card of your deck face down. Similar to Hardened Jab. if you place your first attack and check a 5, you're like, excellent, commit 1 face down. This is now a 6-5. It's not getting blocked anyway, but it just adds that extra bit of utility because your opponent goes, now I have to commit to block this, even if I want to block it. And late game, it can help absorb those resources to help get your kill attacks through. And then you just destroy the one you committed to build the next one face down. One of the things you will notice on these cards is, apart from 5 of them, they all apart from 7 of them, so 13 of them have a minimum of 3 keywords. Got range punch combo, EX Fury Punch, EX Fury Punch, and EX Punch ranged powerful 3. So Repeated Smash can get up to 8 speed as base, which is absolutely nuts. Then we've got Hand Jab, which is just utility, and Plummeting Punch, which gains speed on face and then gains speed from midnight, which means for 1 foundation committed and 1 foundation flipped, you can get this to a 7-4. The idea behind most of these attacks, apart from Jab and Flurry, is I want these to feel bad to block, especially Plummeting Punch. I want them to look at a 7-4 and be like, it's not worth it. Similar to Repeated Smash, I want them to look at a 10-6 and go, it's really, unless they have to, it's not worth it. And that's the point. Every player has this point of diminishing return. And this Midnight deck is designed to exploit that point of diminishing return. Where they look at the speed of an attack, they look at the health total, and they look at the damage taken, and they go, it's not worth the resources to block it. And that is the point of this entire point of the deck. And once people figured that out, it was a lot harder for me to get through. The later games were a lot harder because game 1, they take this little bit of damage, and they're like, oh, now I'm in a position of danger. It would have been better for me to block these early attacks. And that's why I went with the more defensive build, because it's kind of like poking a spear out from your shield. You're like, poke, and then keeping your shield up to defend. And then the moment they give you an opening, you come in with these massive attacks out of nowhere to just completely close out the game. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I did get 3 ties and 4 wins in Swiss. But it was the attack lineup worked out really well. I think the only thing I would probably change now is maybe cut the jab. Maybe put in another expert flurry or had an uppercut, because it was great. I just don't like playing mids into the Eraser Heads. They're still around, and until Eraser Heads gone, I am so reluctant to play a deck that goes on mids. Rejuvenate Smash, if it didn't have the ability to draw me cards, it wouldn't be in the deck, because I would run complete off zones. Just because, thanks to Jose and Broberg and Mike Hardiman and Liam Charner, Eraser Heads are so popular, and it's always been a powerful card. So it's one of the things that I've always tried to stay off mids or try and get away from mids for the majority of this year, because the first deck I ran this year was all lows. Moving into foundations, we're going to do 38 foundations because we've got the 3 actions. Going in with the spam foundations, we've got 4 easily excited, 4 gotchas, and 3 keeping Area safe. Keeping Area safe is such good stun hate. Once per turn, if this card is committed due to Rival's effect, you may ready it, playable, or committed. So, it's a 0 cost 5. You play it, and it sits there, and it prevents stun. The amount of times I was against opponents who played Snack Time who just didn't stun, get back out of Haymakers who chose not to stun because there was literally no point. The keeping Area safe absorbed it. Was very good. Then we've got Easily Excited. This is such a good utility card in Midnight, which is why it's got Midnight's face on it. 0 cost 5 check plus 2 high block with response. After you play an attack, it gains +1 speed and the keyword taunt. So Midnight, that just translates to it gains 2 speed. So cards like Repeated Smash, which have 4 keywords, go up to 5 keywords and +1 speed. So it starts off as a 5 keyword attack with 5 speed due to Easily Excited. So it's then at 10 speed. Adding the next piece to this combination, we've got you a zero cost 5 with a 2 low block, which has response. After this card is committed during the enhanced step, give this attack +1 or -1 speed, playable while committed, is amazing. So you play repeated smash. You respond easily excited. It's a 5 speed, 5 keywords. You commit gotcha with midnight for +5 speed and respond for a speed with gotcha. You now have an 11-6. It's cost you 2 0 cost foundations, one of which you've only had to commit one of, to get an 11-6 as your first attack. Going back to that point of the diminishing return in attacks, this is the point. If you manage to build 5 on your first turn, your opponent builds 4, and your first attack is an 11-6, your opponent's going to go, nope, not blocking that. You get the early momentum, and you're then in control of that game. Getting early control with Midnight is very important because you want to be the one dictating how the game goes, and sometimes it can be very slow and arduous to get that momentum to go into your favour, but once it does, it's your game to lose. All worked up, great Midnight, a great way to get out of deadlock, but one of the key things is the response on discard. It's a 1-5 as you can see on the screen. 2 high block response. After this card is discarded from your hand during the enhanced step, this attack gets +1 or -1 damage. So using things like Prone to Dry Eyes, Midnight, you can discard this card and go respond +1 damage. Excellent. Gets you a nice little bit of synergy, and then has an enhance destroy. Your next check gets +1 playable while committed. So another great one for Midnight. You commit it, get the speed, blow it up, and your next one gets even easier. So you're saving yourself another resource. Absolutely love all worked up. It's only running as a 2 of because I don't want the damage pump. The check pump is really cool. However, it is negated by repeated smash because it's both players that can't manipulate checks. But if you're playing it to get a repeated smash out easier, okay, it's all good. Then move on to Manly Passionate Guy. This is a 3 of. This is probably one of the most important defensive pieces in the deck, in all honesty. It allows you to build in your opponent's turn, claim progressive. It is a threat to whatever you've got. Whenever you've got it down, your opponent has to be worried about what you're going to block with. And because of cards like Struggling with Studies, Prone to Dry Eyes, Learn the Standards, Decoy Duplicate, you can then block and build those in. And that is a huge factor in the mind games. If your opponent launches back at a Haymaker, you go commit 1, -4 speed, block decoy, flip Manly, build it in. Your opponent now has to go, there's now a decoy on the board there wasn't before. If you've got momentum, they have to then rethink their entire turn, which is very good. Again, like I said, it's about that mental aspect of whatever they're blocking with can also hurt me. And to help with that, you've got tape. A 1-5 with a +3 mid block with 2 enhances, which are very, very important. Flip, change this attack zone to mid. Flip, this mid zone attack gets -2 speed. So this can help with the decoys and the learn stance to get out. It can also make it a bit easier to deal with some attacks. So I was up against a Merciless Rush deck that was, if you completely block, you destroy 1 foundation. So I used tape to make it mid, and then blocked with then went with a half block. I was like, cool. I didn't have any mids in hand, but I was able to manipulate a little bit. Practical Studies is my MVP. I probably should run more now. It did have it as a 3 of in August, but a nice little cheeky 2 of worked out. It's a 1 cost 5 check, 3 high block with enhance. If your rival has not lost life this turn, this attack gets +1 speed. Great. So the longer they keep off taking damage, the more resources they're burning, because all your attacks get +1 speed until they take a hit. Deadlock enhance. Commit seal 1 rival asset or foundation. Your attack gets +3 speed. So this is brilliant for dealing with Eri, for dealing with tricky foundations that you're having trouble with. Just pushing till your opponent goes into deadlock, and then going +3 speed, seal Eri, let's go. With Repeated Smash, you can then ready it up and keep sealing other things down. This was my MVP foundation. Decoy was great, Learning Style was great, Petty Squabble drew me lots of cards, but the thing that won me games was Petty Squabble and Can't Escape Me. And I saw more practical studies than Can't Escape Me. Corpse Backup was a cheeky one-off, just draw a card. It should probably be more, but it worked out for me. I get the drawing extra cards is cool, it's just a case of, with my setup with the 4 Rejuvenatings and the 3 Petty Squabbles, I don't feel I need it as much. I can't use it in my opponent's turn. So, I don't know. It's a choice, and I'm sure when other Midnight decks come out, it'll be a choice that has been changed. But for me, the one of calling for backup was more than enough. Then we've got 2 Decoy Duplicates. Nobody else I've seen is still running Decoy Duplicate. And to me, that astounds me. It's still a very good foundation that causes a huge threat. Learning Standards is great. Broken Psyche is great. My issue with Broken Psyche is you reduce it to 2 and they go, okay, you're still taking damage. They then get to keep pumping it. Yes, you allow your opponent to draw a card, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Looking through your opponent's deck, you can discard and you can look at their momentum. Well, you can't look at their momentum. You can look at how much momentum they've got. You can look at their discard pile. You can try to figure out, rough estimate, how many attacks they have left. So you can then work out the odds of, will Decoy give them another attack? And if it does, which attack will it be? I just think Decoy is still very strong. I think it's underutilized, and it has helped me win games by getting rid of massive attacks or massive throws that Void has a big issue dealing with. Citywide Crisis, I overlooked this card for so long. Never want to play on Void again without it. So, response, commit. After your rival adds a card to the hand during your turn, due to their non-character effect, they add 1 card from their hand to the card pool face down. So this is great for dealing with struggling with studies. Straight away, passing the torch. During your turn, if your opponent's digging for defensive pieces, you then get to add to their blocking difficulty, which is amazing. You also then can get answers from their hands, and it also has enhance, remove. After this attack, returns attack to printed speed, playable or created. So if for some reason Midnight doesn't quite work, or they pump up with EX, you can go back to printed. It's a great way of dealing with things like Maximum Overhaul and other cards, and Tongue Whip and other cards that don't have any or many printed keywords, because it just negates the speed that they're getting. And it's playable or committed, which means you can do it late in a string, or it might get overlooked because your opponents often don't look at your committed foundations, look at what you've got ready that can interact with them. So your committed foundations quite often go overlooked. Then we look at Can't Escape Me. Can't Escape Me is so good. I messaged judges about how it interacts with Maximum Overhaul, which led to a whole discussion about what if someone's picked up their cards already and they could have responded. But Can't Escape Me is such an underrated card. It saved me so many times. Let's go into the ability before I start gushing over it. 2 cost, 5 check, +3 mid block. Response, after your rival plays an effect that would add non-character effect that adds any number of cards to their hand, cancel it. So good. So against Rejuvenating Smash, you just go, no. Double jump pull, no. You lose the check plus to your check. I won a game against the RLE winning Eraserhead Death List because my opponent had 1 card in hand, 1 erase in board. I played Repeated Smash. It was an erase they had in hand. They sealed my character, discard the erase, have nothing in hand. They flip struggling with studies. I'll pick up a raise, and I immediately grab my Can't Escape Me and go cancel. And I'm like, oh, I was like, yes, you don't get to do that. You don't have cards in hand. You're dying this turn. They're like, yeah. It is so good, so underrated, and so many people miss that you can interact with so many things. Even in my top 16 game, my opponent immediately picked up 3 face downs, and I was like, don't forget, I have Can't Escape Me down. I'm not going to do anything about it here, because I wasn't going to, but just so you're aware, the next time you go to this, please check, because I don't want to be that guy that goes, you picked up your cards, and I could have, and you didn't give me a chance to respond. That's such a shame. And then Can't Escape Me even has a deadlock enhance, which going up against this deck, so many people go into deadlock of commit. This attack gets +1 speed for each of your rivals' committed foundations. That is insane. I love it so much. My top 16 games, I was able to, if I hadn't messed up, I would have been able to clinch it with Can't Escape Me, because my opponent went into deadlock, had 7 committed foundations. I was like, cool, catch this attack, which you are definitely not catching. It is really, really good, and in all honesty, I would probably bump this up to a 3 of now, or put another 2 inside, because I just want to cancel everything. Control is a hell of a drug. 3 petty squabbles. This is probably the biggest thing I do that nobody else will do. I overvalue petty squabble beautifully. Response: once per turn, discard 1 card. After your rival plays an ability on a foundation, commit 1 rival copy of that foundation. So, in my top 4 game against Luke, when he was in the single digit life, when he dealt damage to me, he'd respond easily excited. He'd lose 2, draw a card, then I go response, discard a card, commit easily excited. I did not want him getting back to double digit life. I did not want him gaining life at all. And I wanted him to happily lose 2 life lose 1 life because of overhaul gains, lose 1 life to draw a card. That gets him close to my goal of him dying, and it takes another foundation off the board, which makes his attack lineup a bit harder. Not too hard with overhaul, but that response is very powerful, and it's partly why the reason I felt so confident going into deadlock. Not too many people run multiple deadlocks, and once they've got 1 down, they're not too bothered about getting the rest down very quickly. So you'll see like 1 pull no punches, then one of, I can't remember any of the more decent ones. Same with quick to act. If they've only got 1 down, it's fine. I go, okay, I'll keep 1 extra card in hand. That is attack zone that I know they're not coming at me with, and then they'll go quick to act or pull no punches or snack time, and then you go cool. You get 1. And you discard, you go commit that, and they go, oh, and then they've lost that for the rest of the turn. Which is really, really cool, because it just turns offline, it makes it a lot harder to deal, it commits them down, makes it easier for you to be able to deal with, and takes a threat off the board. But the biggest thing in here is the enhanced ability of commit your character. Both players discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards. This won me games. Not only does it make me into a pseudo 8-hander, because my character's ability is playable or committed, and I can, if I play all the cards in my hand, it is a great mind game, because I literally play out my hand, I sit back and go to my opponent, I've got no cards in hand, and my opponent looks and goes, oh, I can get damage in, and then they go, attack, and then I assess the attack and go, is it a threat? No, I don't need to, or I go, this is something I need to stop, petty squabble, commit my character, draw 2, I'm putting my hands in the fates. But it pays off majority of the time, especially with how I built the deck. In the mirror match against the other Midnight, he had signaled to me that he had a barrier shield in hand and was waiting to use it. So on my kill attack, I just went repeated smash, first enhance, petty squabble, discard the last card in my hand to draw 2. My opponent then discarded 2 barrier shields and drew 2 low blocks, which meant I was able to then take game 1 through petty squabble, completely keeping my opponent off guard. Spooky, Barry Shield and Spooky, amazing combination. Hate going up against Overhaul, even though that was one of my top cut games, because I have to go into negative speed to make Spooky as viable, or take 2. But it's not too hard when they're running things like Back Out Haymaker and whatnot. But the majority of games, you going up against zero gravity lift and things, they enhance the damage, and when I was like, you've got nothing else that can enhance damage, and I'm like, don't think so, double check, you haven't. Commit Gotcha, 0 the speed, commit Spooky, it's a 0 damage, 9 speed attack, and they go, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, yes it is. It's a unique, not great, but it's up to a 2-off from a 1-off from August, because it did a lot of work, and it allowed me to take less damage. When you're looking at these super long, stringy decks that like Mirio and Overhaul, you have 2 choices, which means you can just keep throwing in these 1 attacks and holding 4 or 5 cards back for defense, or you can go, I am going to make my foundations your worst nightmare. I'm going to have Petty Skull making me have 2 extra cards than you. I'm going to have Spooky, which is going to make your attacks, at least one of your attacks do nothing. I'm going to have Decoy, which is going to get rid of one of your attacks. I'm going to have Learning Standards, which is going to make you interrupt your attacks. It was all about looking at where the game state was and going, okay, how do I become the most annoying person in the room? Which was my goal. Heroic Lineage is the card I've put in over Red Right's the coolest. Mainly because of its synergy with Repeated Smash, and because it is a response speed hate, which is great for flashes against Jiro. So it's got commit, after your rival's attack received a damage bonus, it gets -3 speed, and response commit, after your attack receives a speed bonus, it gains 2 damage. So, going back to Repeated Smash, you can go Easily Excited, +1 speed, keyword taunt, you go Respond, Heroic Lineage, +2 damage, First Enhance, ready up Heroic Lineage, commit Gotcha, respond, commit Heroic Lineage. You now have an 11-10, and it's cost you 2 foundations because you don't get to ready them back up again. But if this is your only attack you're throwing, an 11-10 early on is very hard to deal with, and you've not had to use many resources that you've used 2 foundations. Yeah, bet. Punctualize is the damage buff and stun hate. There's a lot of cards that flip. There's also things like Apathetic and Season Advantage which are going to flip me. So having that response after this card's committed due to the rival's effect, ready to face down foundations, playable while committed. So it's just great if they go stun 1, you go, okay, ready to face down, and you've got a net profit off that stun. Also has enhanced, discard 1 card, all of your attacks get a +1 damage for the rest of the turn. And when you're running things like Petty Squabble, Rejuvenating Smash, you can afford, if you think you can kill this turn, you can afford to take all that defensive potential you had and throw it into 1 turn. Some people may see again my game against Grant on the Swiss. If I'd been able to pass my last attack, I would have gotten him to 1, and if I'd had an additional card in hand, that would have been game. Prone to Drives was very good at getting all of my attacks once they were due to start hitting, to the point where they were actually doing some serious damage. Moving into the sideboard, we have a Razorhead with 2 erasers. Never sided into a Razorhead. Never felt like the matchup dictated it. May have come in handy against Luke, especially when I was going first. Be able to seal his character, be able to seal foundations. But I felt Midnight was a little bit better for the way I was playing the deck. 2 erasers, these came in a lot. Having that additional mid-block, once I was in a position, once I knew that, so example, in the open deck list, when I was like, okay, my opponent has no highs, my opponent has no lows, my opponent's running very little of this, I can go, cool. So then I knew after game 1, bring in the erasers, bring in the confused. But the breaker ability was perfect, the seal was great. If I came across an Eri, it was in there just to remove Seal and Eri. Very, very good. Array's always been a powerful card. Eraserhead, someone I should probably be playing more just so I can get used to him, but I am getting there for my own personal training. Same with Blood Curdle. Blood Curdle was there for things like Nomu, for Mirio, for people that were very dependent on their characters in my turn, which is not something I really came up with. I could have probably sided again against Amajiki, but it didn't feel quite worth it. Reciprocal Burst was a tech choice from probably my head, just having intrusive thoughts of, if they're going to keep holding highs if they die to repeated, throwing in the Reciprocal Burst is very good. I just forgot I don't actually usually get that much momentum. Everything usually comes from the stage. So Reciprocal Burst never actually got to land the attack, but if I needed to swap out to have more high blocks, be able to swap 2 repeated smashes out for Reciprocal Burst felt like a good exchange, because committing a foundation for +3 speed on a Reciprocal Burst plus its stun 1 meant it can still get to very high speeds on its own. Last 4 cards is 2 Confused. Confused is very good at hating on keywords. It's a bit of a mess up in Midnight because you kind of need the keywords, but when the keywords are throw, yeah, that's a bit of an issue. Against Amajiki, I was able to remove powerful cards, so I was then able to maintain my life total and push them a little bit deeper, but fair play to Jonathan. He had so many powerful attacks, it didn't really matter. I looked like I just had enough low blocks and enough foundations left to completely end the Death and Warps. And Patient Observation is one that was there because I didn't want to run Engine Trouble, but it's very, very good. Don't get me wrong, it's got a great block modifier. But to me, this felt like something I could utilize, seeing it early as well as seeing it late. +3 low block. Low blocks honestly do not matter that much in Midnight, especially in the current meta. The higher the low block is essentially just you have to negate that off how much speed you're reducing. Commit, discard momentum, this attack gets -4 speed. Beautiful. It's also a 6 check, which did actually come in handy a lot. There was a couple of times I went to block on a 6, and I was like, okay, what am I getting ready to commit? And then I checked the 6, and I'm like, oh, sweet. And it's a breaker low block, which not a lot of people expect. Overall, I am very happy with this deck. I spent a long time scrutinizing and going over every single card up until the night before. I was still making changes. Big shout out to William Howard, who put up with a lot of stress from me as I was testing these bad boys out for like at least the last 3 months. Shout out to Yu Young and Adarine, if I'm getting that correct, from the OCE. They've got their national starting very soon, and they were some of my big testers. This deck is a culmination of pretty much all the UVS skills I've acquired since last April. I put everything I had into constructing this deck and making it as much I put everything I have into making this as competitive as possible, whilst also keeping it fun for myself. And thanks to the DMS guys and thanks to the people there, I was able to stay calm, have fun, and do the best I've ever done in an event so far. Massive respect to everyone that I played against, and to the rest of the top 8 of the EU. I look forward to seeing you in Florida. If you like this deck, please do let me know. If there's anything you would personally change on it, feel free to reach out to me. If there's anything that you've got questions about that I've missed out, I didn't quite cover, do let me know. And if you want to look at alternatives to how this has gone down, please look at the Rochester and the Vegas RLEs, because there's some very good midnights on there as well. For now, I'm going to shoot and let you go. But please subscribe, please keep up with our content, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.